Age is one of the most powerful social filters humans have created, yet it is one of the least examined. It operates quietly, shaping who is seen, who is heard, and who is considered desirable, capable, or relevant. Unlike skill, character, or integrity, age is not something earned or lost through behavior, it simply happens. And yet, society treats it as evidence of decline, evidence of limitation, evidence that one's most meaningful chapters must already be behind them. This belief is not truth, it is conditioning. From an early age, people are taught timelines. By a certain age, you should look a certain way, achieve certain milestones, be chosen, be established, be settled. These expectations are presented as natural progressions, but they are cultural constructs reinforced by media, marketing, and social comparison. Youth is celebrated as potential, while age is framed as loss. Over time, this narrative becomes so normalized that individuals internalize it without questioning its origin. They begin to see age not as time lived but as value diminished. Rejection based on age is often mistaken as personal failure. When opportunities, relationships, or recognition disappear, the individual assumes something essential is lacking within them. This is how social filters become internal verdicts. Instead of recognizing bias, people turn inward with self-doubt. They ask what they should have done sooner, what they failed to preserve, or why they didn't age better according to standards that were never realistic to begin with. The damage is subtle but cumulative. Each dismissal reinforces the belief that worth is conditional and time-bound. This conditioning is particularly powerful because it is reinforced socially. When multiple sources, friends, workplaces, romantic prospects, and cultural messaging echo the same assumptions, the mind treats them as facts. The individual begins to self-censor. They stop pursuing certain paths before being rejected. They shrink their expectations. They preemptively lower their standards to avoid disappointment. This is not humility. It is adaptation to bias. What makes age-based rejection especially deceptive is that it often arrives cloaked in politeness. It is framed as preference, practicality, or concern. It's just not what I'm looking for. You deserve someone in the same stage of life. It might be difficult at this age. These statements sound reasonable, but their cumulative effect is exclusion. They remove complexity and reduce a person to a number, ignoring context, capability, and individuality. Over time, the person being filtered out begins to believe that they are asking for something unreasonable simply by wanting more. Unlearning this conditioning requires first naming it. Age is not a measure of worth, it is a measure of time. Time spent learning, adapting, surviving, loving, failing, and rebuilding. To equate time with decline is to misunderstand human development entirely. Many qualities essential for healthy relationships and meaningful contribution, emotional regulation, discernment, empathy, resilience, are refined through experience, not youth. These are not traits that peak early, they deepen. Yet society rarely rewards depth, it rewards novelty. This is why age bias persists even when it contradicts. Attraction is commonly misunderstood because it is taught through images rather than experience. From an early age, people are shown what desire is supposed to look like: youthful faces, idealized bodies, impressive titles, visible success. These surface traits are easy to recognize and easy to compare, which makes them convenient markers in a fast, judgment-driven culture. But convenience is not the same as truth. While surface traits may spark initial interest, they rarely sustain connection. What holds two people together over time is something quieter and far more stable: shared values. Values are the internal principles that guide how a person lives, chooses, reacts, and commits. They determine how someone handles conflict, power, vulnerability, responsibility, and care. When values align, life feels cooperative rather than competitive. Decisions make sense without constant negotiation. Respect becomes natural instead of forced. This is why real attraction deepens not through appearance or status, but through recognition, seeing someone move through the world in a way that feels familiar, safe, and compatible. Surface traits create curiosity, shared values create trust. Curiosity is exciting, but it is unstable. It depends on novelty, comparison, and validation. Trust, on the other hand, allows attraction to mature. It transforms desire from something reactive into something chosen. When two people value honesty, growth, kindness, and accountability in similar ways, they experience a form of attraction that is not threatened by time, change, or external pressure. Their bond is rooted in how they think and live, not how they are perceived. Life rhythms are an often overlooked expression of values. How someone structures their days, manages stress, spends money, cares for their health, and prioritizes relationships reveals far more about compatibility than age or status ever could. Two people can be decades apart in age, yet aligned in pace, priorities, and purpose. Conversely, people who appear perfect on paper may find themselves constantly misaligned because their rhythms clash. Attraction fades quickly when daily life feels like negotiation rather than collaboration. Emotional maturity plays a critical role in this alignment. It determines whether differences become bridges or battlegrounds. An emotionally mature person takes responsibility for their reactions, communicates directly, and listens without defensiveness. These qualities are not guaranteed by youth, nor are they purchased with status. They are developed through reflection, experience, and a willingness to grow. When emotional maturity is shared, attraction feels steady rather than volatile. There is room for disagreement without fear, and closeness without control. The cultural emphasis on youth and status often distracts from these deeper compatibilities. Youth is associated with possibility, and status with security, but neither guarantees emotional availability or ethical alignment. Many relationships fail, not because partners lacked chemistry, but because they lacked shared principles. They disagreed on how to treat each other under stress, how to define loyalty, how to handle power, or how to repair harm. These failures are not dramatic at first, they are accumulative. Over time, misaligned values erode attraction, replacing it with resentment or indifference. When people prioritize shared values, attraction becomes less performative and more authentic. There is less pressure to impress and more freedom to be real. This authenticity is deeply attractive because it signals safety. It allows individuals to show up as they are, rather than as who they think they must be to be chosen. In educational terms, this shifts attraction from external validation to internal coherence. People are drawn to those who live in alignment with themselves. This perspective also reframes rejection. When attraction is based on surface traits, rejection feels personal and absolute. It implies deficiency. But when attraction is understood as value-based alignment, rejection becomes informational rather than injurious. It simply indicates mismatch. Two good people can fail to connect not because one lacks worth, but because their values, rhythms, or emotional capacities do not align. This understanding protects self-respect and reduces unnecessary self-doubt. Shared values also create resilience. Relationships inevitably face stress, aging, loss, financial strain, illness, or change. Surface traits offer no guidance during these moments. Values do. They shape how partners support each other, make sacrifices, and adapt together. Couples who share values are more likely to view challenges as joint problems rather than personal failures. This collaborative mindset preserves attraction even under pressure. Importantly, values are not static labels, they are demonstrated behaviors. It is easy to claim honesty, kindness, or ambition. It is harder to live them consistently. True attraction grows when people witness each other choosing integrity in small, unobserved moments. These choices build respect, and respect is the foundation of lasting desire. Without respect, attraction becomes fragile and conditional. Understanding attraction through the lens of shared values also expands the pool of meaningful connection. It frees people from narrow criteria dictated by culture and encourages curiosity about character. This is particularly liberating for those who have felt overlooked due to age, appearance, or status. When the focus shifts to values, many invisible strengths become visible: wisdom, steadiness, empathy, and clarity of purpose. In practice, cultivating value-based attraction begins with self-awareness. One must understand their own values clearly before seeking alignment in others. This involves examining patterns in past relationships: what created harmony, what caused friction, and what was compromised too easily. Clarity about one's values acts as a filter, but a healthy one. Instead of excluding based on superficial markers, it selects for compatibility that supports well-being. Ultimately, attraction grounded in shared values is not loud or urgent. It does not demand constant reassurance. It feels calm, mutual, and enduring. It allows love to be a place of rest rather than performance. While surface traits may capture attention, it is shared values that capture commitment. And commitment, rooted in respect and alignment, is what transforms attraction into something lasting and meaningful. Healing is not an event. It is a process of reorientation. It reshapes how a person sees themselves, others, and the world. Those who have endured loss or hardship do not simply return to who they were before. They emerge with altered priorities, refined perception, and a deeper understanding of what is essential. This transformation is not always visible, but it profoundly influences connection. When two people who have walked through pain encounter each other, there is often an immediate, unspoken recognition. Healing recognizes healing. Loss strips away illusions. It confronts individuals with impermanence, vulnerability, and the limits of control. In doing so, it forces a reckoning with what truly matters. Status, appearances, and superficial achievements lose their dominance when survival, dignity, and emotional safety become central concerns. This shift in focus creates clarity. People who have suffered deeply often become more selective, not out of bitterness but out of wisdom. They understand the cost of misalignment and are less willing to invest in connections that require self-betrayal. Hardship also develops emotional literacy. Navigating grief, disappointment, or trauma requires naming feelings, tolerating discomfort, and learning how to self-soothe. These skills are foundational for healthy relationships. Individuals who have done this work are better equipped to communicate honestly, set boundaries, and respond with empathy. When they meet someone with a similar level of emotional awareness, connection feels efficient rather than exhausting. There is less need for explanation because understanding is already present. This recognition is not rooted in shared pain, but in shared growth. Two people may have experienced different losses, yet arrive at similar insights about life, love, and responsibility. They recognize in each other a seriousness about care, a respect for fragility, and a commitment to repair rather than avoidance. This creates a sense of safety that allows vulnerability to emerge without fear of exploitation. In educational terms, healing increases relational capacity, the ability to hold complexity without collapse. People who have not faced significant hardship are not inherently incapable of deep connection, but those who have often possess a distinct clarity. They are less attracted to intensity for its own sake and more attuned to consistency. They value presence over performance and reliability over charm. This recalibration of attraction reflects a deeper understanding of what sustains relationships over time. Healing teaches that love is not proven through sacrifice alone, but through mutual care and respect. There is also a humility that emerges from loss. Hardship often dissolves the illusion of self-sufficiency. It reveals the need for support and interdependence. This awareness softens judgment and increases compassion. When healed individuals meet, they tend to approach each other without the need to dominate or impress. Their connection is grounded in equality. They see each other not as solutions to pain, but as companions in a shared human experience. Healing recognizes healing because it senses safety. The nervous system, having learned the consequences of neglect or harm, becomes attuned to signals of reliability. Tone of voice, consistency of behavior, and respect for boundaries matter more than grand gestures. When someone else responds, with patience, accountability, and steadiness, It registers as familiar in the best way. This is not coincidence, it is pattern recognition shaped by experience. Importantly, this recognition does not mean that healed individuals are free from pain or vulnerability. It means they relate to it differently. They are more likely to take responsibility for their healing rather than outsourcing it to others. This self-responsibility prevents enmeshment and reduces the risk of repeating harmful dynamics. When two people who have embraced this responsibility connect, their relationship becomes a space for growth rather than rescue. Loss also teaches the value of time. Those who have endured grief understand that rushing intimacy can bypass understanding. They are more patient in forming bonds, allowing trust to build organically. This patience is often mistaken for distance, but it reflects discernment. Healing slows the pace so that connection can be built on reality rather than projection. When another person honors this pace, it deepens trust. In a broader educational sense, healing reframes strength. Strength is no longer defined by endurance of suffering, but by the capacity to seek help, set limits, and choose healthier patterns. This redefinition influences partner selection. Healed individuals are less likely to be drawn to chaos or unpredictability because they recognize it as a threat to well-being. Instead, they are drawn to calm, clarity, and mutual respect. This attraction may feel quieter, but it is more sustainable. The depth of connection that emerges between healed individuals is not dramatic or consuming. It is steady and expansive. It allows space for individuality while fostering closeness. There is an understanding that love does not eliminate pain, but it can provide a supportive context for living with it. This realism prevents idealization and disappointment. Expectations are grounded, communication is direct, and repair is prioritized over blame. Healing recognizes healing because it sees effort. It notices the work someone has done to understand themselves, to break cycles, and to choose differently. This recognition is deeply affirming. It validates the invisible labor of growth and acknowledges that survival alone is not the goal. Wholeness is. When two people share this orientation, their connection is informed by respect rather than need. Ultimately, hardship does not guarantee wisdom, but it offers the opportunity for it. Those who accept this opportunity often emerge with a clearer sense of self and a deeper capacity for connection. When they encounter others who have made similar journeys, there is a resonance that transcends words. Their bond is not built on shared wounds, but on shared healing, a mutual commitment to living with intention, compassion, and integrity. Belonging is often misunderstood as acceptance, but true belonging goes deeper than tolerance or inclusion. It is the experience of being seen clearly, without distortion, without reduction, and without conditions attached. Many people move through life adapting themselves to fit environments where only fragments of them are welcomed. They learn which parts to highlight, which to soften, and which to hide entirely. Over time, this adaptation becomes habitual, and the original self grows quieter. What is lost is not identity, but the feeling of being known. Healthy relationships begin precisely where this pattern ends. To be seen clearly means that one's full story is acknowledged. Not just the polished chapters, but the unfinished ones, the mistakes, the losses, the transformations, and the resilience that followed. When someone recognizes this whole narrative and still chooses connection, it communicates a powerful message. Nothing essential about you disqualifies you from care. This recognition creates psychological safety, which is the foundation of belonging. Without safety, connection remains performative. With it, authenticity becomes possible. Many relationships fail because they are built on partial visibility. One person is admired for usefulness, attractiveness, or emotional labor, but not understood in depth. Another is valued for potential rather than presence. These dynamics can feel validating at first, but they require ongoing self-editing. Over time, the cost becomes evident. The individual begins to feel unseen, even while being praised. This disconnect erodes intimacy because closeness depends on mutual reality, not idealization. Choosing someone without negotiation or apology does not mean ignoring differences or challenges. It means that the choice itself is not contingent on self-erasure. There is no requirement to become smaller, quieter, younger, less complex, or more convenient in order to be loved. The relationship does not ask for a revised version of the self as an entry fee. Instead, it invites growth without demanding disappearance. This distinction is crucial for emotional health. From an educational perspective, belonging is closely linked to identity integration, the ability to hold all aspects of oneself without fragmentation. When relationships demand selective visibility, identity fractures. When relationships allow wholeness, identity stabilizes. This stability supports mental well-being, resilience, and secure attachment. People who feel they belong are less reactive, more open to feedback, and better able to navigate conflict without fear of abandonment. Recognition is an active process. It involves curiosity, listening, and the willingness to revise assumptions. Seeing someone clearly requires moving beyond stereotypes and projections. It asks for attention to patterns rather than isolated moments. This level of perception cannot be rushed. It develops through presence and consistency. When someone invests this attention and then chooses connection, the choice carries weight. It is informed, deliberate, and respectful. Apology has a place in relationships, but belonging should not require apologizing for one's existence. Many individuals are conditioned to preemptively apologize for their needs, boundaries, or histories. This habit often develops in environments where belonging was conditional. Over time, apologizing becomes a strategy for survival rather than repair. Healthy relationships disrupt this pattern. They allow needs to be expressed without guilt and boundaries to be respected without punishment. Negotiation, in this context, refers to bargaining away essential parts of the self in exchange for connection. This may include tolerating disrespect, minimizing desires, or accepting ambiguity where clarity is needed. While compromise is necessary in relationships, it should never involve the sacrifice of dignity. Belonging occurs when compromise is mutual and values remain intact. Being seen clearly also means being allowed to change. A whole story includes evolution. Healthy relationships recognize that growth does not invalidate earlier versions of the self. Instead of clinging to fixed identities, they adapt together. This flexibility supports long-term connection because it honors the dynamic nature of human development. When someone chooses you with this understanding, the relationship becomes a place where becoming is welcomed, not feared. The absence of belonging often manifests as chronic self-doubt. Individuals who are not seen fully may question their worth even in the presence of others. They may feel lonely in relationships, constantly monitoring themselves for signs of rejection. This hypervigilance is exhausting and inhibits intimacy. Belonging quiets this internal noise. It allows attention to shift outward, toward shared experiences and mutual care. In practical terms, belonging changes behavior. People who feel seen are more honest, more generous, and more accountable. They are less defensive because they do not feel constantly evaluated. This creates a positive feedback loop. Safety fosters openness. Openness fosters trust, and trust deepens belonging. These dynamics are self-reinforcing when both individuals commit to clarity and respect. Choosing without apology also means standing by the choice publicly and privately. It involves consistency across contexts. When someone's recognition of you does not fluctuate based on convenience, mood, or external approval, it reinforces stability. This reliability is a key marker of healthy attachment. It signals that the relationship is grounded in genuine appreciation rather than situational benefit. Belonging is not about perfection. It does not eliminate conflict or difference. Instead, it provides a secure base from which differences can be explored constructively. When individuals feel chosen as they are more willing to engage in difficult conversations and to repair ruptures. The relationship becomes a site of learning rather than avoidance. Ultimately, belonging is found where perception is accurate and care is consistent. It is the experience of being recognized in full and met with acceptance rather than conditions. When someone sees your whole story, your past, your present, and your potential, and chooses you without asking you to apologize for who you are, connection becomes restorative. In such relationships, love is not something to earn or negotiate. It is something to inhabit.